I'm the director of 596 Acres. This is the opening of our F5 Week intervention here at the Queens Museum. It's called Reviewing Renewal.
The residents, the workers, and students. Something about the synthesis of these people in these places make this thing called neighborhood. As Takala Keaton, a 45-year-old lifelong resident of Brooklyn, told me, when I talk about neighborhood, I think 70% of a neighborhood is made up of people who live there and how the people relate to each other.
Willets Point Triangle is the land that's been in contention for an urban renewal project. And the city is trying to get a hold of all of the land.
The reasons that someone would make a panorama like this in the first place are fascinating. In fact, this panorama has an amazing story behind it. The whole panorama cost something in the range of $650,000 in the early 60s, which works out to about $5 million. So this is a $5 million project.
When I came to write a book about urban renewal, I found that I was interested in sort of two ways of thinking about these kinds of interventions in city life. I was interested in the ways that the cities have been shaped physically, in the physical intervention, the transformations in city spaces, but also the ways that these interventions were imagined, the ways that they were underpinned by particular conceptions of city life, conceptions of how cities should be lived in and understood.
Protest is absolutely integral to urban development. Every time there's a change in the city, there are winners and there are losers. There are people who benefit, there are people who are pushed out of the neighborhood or who are forced to change their ways in some sort of fashion. And because things like urban renewal often promise very powerful public good, that is economic development, better housing, better transportation, often plans to change the city have very powerful supporters.
It was calling for 10,000 units of housing. And to put that into perspective, Starrett City is 6,000 units of housing, and Co-op City is 15,000 units of housing. So on this little strip of land, 10,000 units of housing would really change a lot. And the EIS came out, and again, this is stories that I've heard from I was a little kid, right? But I remember the organizing happening, and I remember being at meetings and rallies and stuff.
I remember that it started slowly on Suffolk Street. They started taking tenants from one building, putting them in another building, closing that building, over and over, and then it happened to us. One week, my parents were told, you get $150 for relocation, you gotta go. And that was it. 3 weeks, you gotta go. And after we went, the building stayed empty for years before they finally took it down.
These buildings that were built, when they were actually filled, they did not honor at all the promise to give priority to former site tenants.
Urban renewal, a socialist scheme to confiscate private property. So your John Birchers, your far-right people were very concerned about this new development of what they saw as government overreach. Whereas on the right-hand side is a book that says urban renewal, bonanza of the real estate business. So I was pretty confused about who was for this and who was against it. And so what was ironic about it to me is that this was a battle that seemed clear was being fought by maybe the middle class against the lower class in the name of defeating urban renewal. And this wasn't the first time this happened, but it definitely was for me a cautionary note about thinking that the lines around urban renewal were very simple to draw, and the dangers of drawing them too simply.
Harlem was like a land grab. So you had a lot of foreign developers coming in and they had their own plans. And quickly, I remember my mom fighting, saying that this is going to become one of the worst things ever.
Is in Highbridge Park. It is about love in these places that have been officially written off. It was wrong to write them off because they didn't see the love. And there is still love there despite all the difficulties. And they're still trying to drive the people out and drive the love out, and this will kill us all.